Ah, the McIntosh C12000, McIntosh's best preamplifier ever. Beautiful packing, as always, double boxed. Ooh, an accessory pack. So McIntosh includes two multi-pin cables to connect the power and control unit to the audio unit. And we're going to connect those now, and we're going to get this powered up. Let's power her on, shall we? Initializing. So, did I say that this is McIntosh's best preamplifier ever? I guess I did, but that's kind of clickbait, right? Sorry about that, guys. We gotta get eyes on our channel. Best in this hobby, at least according to our values here at Resolution Audio Video in Brooklyn, New York, in Red Hook. Best is relative when it comes to hi-fi sound, right? It boils down to personal preference. So right now, this is McIntosh's reference preamplifier. It's their best offering. It's the preamplifier with the most tech in it, the most well thought out circuitry, and is their all-out assault on the best they can do in terms of preamplifiers. But again, best is relative. Someone might like the McIntosh C22 better from a sonic perspective. So there is no best for real, but this is their best effort in terms of preamplifiers in what they do and what they make. On the subject of personal preference, this preamplifier is pretty special. You'll see there's a lot of tubes here in the front and up top there for the line stage and the phono stage. But with the flick of a switch, you can actually change the output for the line stage from tube to solid state and back. So just goes to show that McIntosh doesn't think that tubes are better than solid state or vice versa. They let you decide. So this is kind of like a Swiss Army knife of preamplifiers, and that's absolutely awesome. Now, the first thing that you'll see, which is very obvious, is that this is two boxes. And McIntosh has done this before with previous generations of preamplifiers. Why are there two boxes? Well, they're two boxes because all the analog audio circuitry resides in the top box. In the bottom box, we have the dual mono power supplies, as well as all the switching circuitry. Now, why is that important? Well, switching circuitry, computer chips, processors, all that stuff, make noise. And that noise can corrupt the audio signal. So they want to keep it as far away as possible from the delicate audio circuits. How do they do that? They put it in another box. Additionally, putting the power supply in a separate box also keeps electromagnetic noise and any type of electronic interference of the high voltage circuits away from the delicate audio circuits in the top box. Also, because it's in a separate box, it allows the power supplies to be robust, meaning big. And if there's anything that you should know about hi-fi, it is that power supplies in any piece of equipment are amongst the, if not the most important aspect of the design of a hi-fi component. The power supply takes the 120 volts, 220 volts, whatever your voltage is, out of the wall, and then converts it into usable AC or DC voltages that ultimately turn into audio signals and then ultimately come out of your speakers. So if the power supplies aren't robust, well thought out, your stereo is just not going to sound that great. We're going to dig into that box. I want to see what's inside of it, but let's tour around what this thing can do also. So let's take a look, shall we? So as mentioned, the separate power supply is a dual mono power supply, which means that there is a dedicated power supply for the left channel and there's a dedicated power supply for the right channel. That basically eliminates crosstalk of any signals from one channel getting into the other. So not only are these power supplies electrically isolated from one another, they're mechanically isolated from one another as well. So again, it's dual mono operation, and we will show you the insides of what that looks like. So again, as I said, this is a tube and solid state preamplifier. There's 6 vacuum tubes in the preamplifier section. 2 12AT7 tubes, 1 12AX7A tube is assigned to each channel. The solid state output is via discrete op amps. And usually a discrete op amp sounds fantastic as well. The phono stage in this preamplifier is not an afterthought at all. Perhaps it could be amongst the best phono stage that McIntosh makes. Traditionally, in the most ultimate of hi-fi systems, a phono stage is going to be a separate component completely, but McIntosh decided to include the phono stage within this preamplifier. But McIntosh has decided to keep the phono stage within this preamplifier, so it gets to utilize the whole dual mono power supply and the separated power supply approach and all of that. So it is a magnificent phono stage that utilizes 4 12AX7A tubes. 2 tubes per channel, fully balanced configuration. In talking about the phono stage, it's got a dedicated moving coil or moving magnet inputs. They're fully configurable via the front screen with adjustable capacitance, resistance loading, and adjustable gain. So this preamplifier should be compatible with just about any phono stage that you can connect to it. The preamplifier is not going to leave you wanting for inputs or outputs, as you can see. It's pretty intense. So there's 4 total outputs. 1 balanced vacuum tube, 1 balanced solid state, 1 fixed unbalanced, 1 programmable unbalanced, which can be either vacuum tube or solid state. Now you ask yourself, what the hell would I need this many outputs for? Well, McIntosh is big on bi-amping, so you can use it to connect multiple amplifiers, whether they're multiple mono blocks, multiple stereo amplifiers, a lot of options. And a lot of installations we've done just that, where we have mono blocks powering, let's say, the bass drivers of a pair of speakers, and then a stereo amplifier powering the mid and highs. There's a lot of options. The only critique that I would say about this amplifier in terms of the outputs is that it's a little tricky in terms of switching from tube to solid state. It actually requires you to use a different output, so you can't switch it on the fly, which is frustrating for some customers, but in the end, it's not the end of the world. What's also not forgotten in this preamplifier is a great headphone amplifier, and it has the HDX processing if you'd like to use it, which kind of changes the kind of place of image of the music within your headphones. So there's a little bit of play that you can do there in terms of having fun with that. So now for my favorite part, taking it apart. Let's take a look inside and see what makes this thing tick and what makes it so wonderful. I love digging into the inside of hi-fi gear and see how it's made and designed and everything like that. So let's dig in. All right, let's take the top off of this power supply. Boom. Okay, interesting. So we've taken the top off of the power supply and control unit, and it's a little less exciting than I thought it would be, but it's very interesting. So we have obviously 2 transformers here, one for the right channel, one for the left channel. McIntosh's famous transformers. It's one of the things they've been known for. Here is the control board for some of the relays for the triggers. So turning on and off amplifiers, CD players, things like that, and controlling those types of things. What is not up here is the rest of the power supply. So the rest of the power supply is in fact isolated from the 2 transformers and must be underneath. So while not exciting really looking here, it is beautiful, it's clean, we see the 2 transformers. That's amazing for a preamplifier to have dual mono transformers, but the power supply itself as a whole is not really visible here. So we are going to see if we can flip it around and see what's underneath. Let's take the bottom off. Okay, so there's the power supply. Also dual mono, left and right channel. We also have an IEC filter here, which filters some of the power. The top of this piece is a little roadmap in terms of what we're seeing in here. Okay, so obviously, as I said, here's one transformer feed, here's another transformer feed. So what we're seeing is different voltages here for the tubes. What we have here is a negative 18.6 volts, a negative 6.8 volts, and then the 8.6 volts and 190 volts. And then there's 5 volts, negative 18 volts, and 18 volts. All right, I know you want me to open up this as well. We'll do it. I can't resist either. All right, the big reveal. Whoa. Okay. What do we see here? All right, cool. Something that I didn't know that we just saw in here by opening up the top are these two lovely things right here. The McIntosh Phono Low Noise Amplifier. So there's step-up transformers in here for the moving coil stage of the phono stage, which is awesome. Personally, I'm a big fan of the sound of step-up transformers, and utilizing that within the moving coil circuit, for me, I really like. You'll see here also these tubes as well. There's a little rubber damper here, a little bit of isolation in terms of vibration for the tubes. Not much, but a little bit right here. And you'll also see that we have a isolation here, a metal piece, which separates the two channels as well. There's a lot of little resistors here and some relays, which I think is related to the phono loading adjustments, which is very cool. We have our XLR inputs and outputs, RCA inputs and outputs here as well. Bunch of ribbon connectors. And again, a clear dual mono design. There's literally a line down the whole center here, from here and then even here where these tubes reside over there. And then also the chassis here is solid. So whatever's below this, there's something else there. And well, geez, I'm gonna have to look. I can't not. So let's flip it over and look inside the other side, side 4. All right, we're taking the bottom off of the audio unit of the C12000. Woo! Okay, what are we looking at here? I don't know. Okay, well, the first thing that's very cool is here's the headphone amplifier section. And as you can see, it's pretty robust. It's even got its own leg from the power supply, or not the power supply. Well, its own leg coming from somewhere. Where I don't know, but it's some type of high voltage line. Not high voltage. Medium voltage. Oh! Okay, so the first thing we see here, which is very cool, is the headphone amplifier. It's very robust, or relatively robust. It's its own module right here, and it's got two little interconnects here for left channel and right channel. And it is, let's see, how many conductors are there? There's 3. So maybe it's sending a balanced signal to it. Here we have the 2 tube boards for the line stage section. And here we have all of the audio signals and power signals going back and forth. Now this is just the power. I think the audio signal is going via ribbon cable. And then we have this board here. This board here is where the incoming power supply leads come from. So these are connected to the kind of computer style cables that are coming from the power supply unit. And then from here it looks like, yeah, this board distributes all the individual voltages to all the different parts in the preamplifier. So interesting, but not mind-blowing. But it's pretty cool how everything in this preamplifier is mechanically isolated from one another and separated and shielded. So that will all make a difference. Okay, so after all this futzing around, you might ask, what does this sound like? Well, it sounds just like a McIntosh. It's very quiet. It's very dynamic. It has wonderful bass, and it is very exciting to listen to. It's also very neutral and very uncolored, especially on the solid state output section. When you move to the tube section, it gets a little bit more euphoric sounding, but not overly so, where you'd say this is warm and tubey. Here we have a huge collection of new old stock tubes, and we love rolling tubes because it is so much fun and it makes a huge difference. So I'm sure that rolling in some new old stock tubes into this guy will make it even more interesting to listen to when in tube mode, because the tube mode and solid state mode in this, in terms of outputs, are more similar than they are different. But I think that if we got some very lush sounding tubes in here, the tube preamp section could sound pretty interesting. The headphone output sounds great. We just gave it a very quick listen. And the phono stage as well. The phono stage is quiet and very dynamic. And probably all you would ever need from a phono stage until you start really upgrading into the major big leagues of phono. So yeah, that is our review here. And we are in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and we are Resolution Audio Video. And to my knowledge, we are the only showroom in Brooklyn that has McIntosh on display. I also think we may be the only McIntosh dealer in Brooklyn, and that's pretty cool. The way we approach our demonstrations and our ethos here is that there are no right or wrong answers. Just like the tube stage in here or the solid state stage in here, one is not better than the other, they're just different. So we want you to come in and listen and make decisions for yourself. We're not going to tell you that this is the best McIntosh preamplifier in the world, or the best McIntosh preamplifier ever, or the best preamplifier ever. We want you to decide for yourself. We have a very long history with McIntosh because we also have another business where we buy and sell a ton of pre-owned and vintage McIntosh. So we have essentially listened to almost every McIntosh preamplifier ever made. And I know you'll challenge us in the comments about that, but it's probably true. And we'll take you out in the warehouse for a second and just show you what we have in terms of vintage McIntosh at the moment, and you'll see that we're not messing around. We've literally heard it all. And what does that do for you? It could help us guide you. If you're not sure, or if you're confused and you do want some advice and you don't want to just trust your own ear and you want our experience, we have it. We have over 20 years of experience. So give us a call, like and subscribe, do all those things, follow along, because we have a lot of fun here and we want you to be involved, because this hobby is about having fun.